Alrighty, so good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join. My name is Chase Fuquay. I'm an engineer with Kimley Horn, working for NDOT on the Metro Traffic Calming Program. Also with us on the call tonight is Carlos Zanetti. He's my colleague, also working on the Traffic Calming Program. Councilmember Rutherford isn't joining tonight, but did want to make sure that I give him updates on anything that comes out of this meeting tonight. So he's engaged. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded, and will be posted on YouTube after we get done. So I'm just going to roll into the slides. So quickly, we got the agenda flashed up on the screen here. If you are, like I mentioned before, this recording will be posted on YouTube. So if you are viewing this recording after the fact, want to push you towards giving feedback via Engage Nashville. So that's engage.Nashville.gov/traffic calming, or you can use the QR code that you see on the screen. But for those here tonight, so we're going to go through a quick overview of the traffic calming program. We'll discuss Brookview Estates Drive specifically, review the kind of the toolbox that NDOT uses on traffic calming projects typically, and how those can be or how those may be applied on Brookview Estates Drive through reviewing the preliminary design concepts. And then we'll just discuss like kind of procedurally how we got here and what the next steps are for the traffic calming project. Okay, so what is traffic calming? So in the context of the Nashville Street Traffic Calming Program, this program focuses on residential streets, so not arterials or highways, but local or collector streets and neighborhoods. The program focuses on physical engineered solutions, really focused on speed reduction as a main goal of the program, and we'll get into a little bit of the why behind that later, as to why speed reduction is such a important factor in that we focus on in the traffic calming program. So briefly, the 3 E's of traffic calming, those would be education, enforcement, and engineering. Engineering is really the one of these that NDOT has the most influence and control over, and so that's what the traffic calming program aims to implement, are engineered solutions that are proven to reduce speeds on corridors on neighborhood streets such as Brookview Estates Drive. Just an extra bit of emphasis on why we focus so much on speed reduction. Speed reduction has been shown to lead to better safety outcomes, especially for those outside of a car. You can kind of see the statistics there on the graphic on the screen. As speeds reach above 25 miles an hour, vehicle speeds to 35 and 45, you can see the significant dip, which really indicates an increase in rate of fatal or serious injury crashes whenever speeds are high. So that's really hitting it over the head, but that's really why we focus on speed reduction as the main outcome of the traffic calming program when we look at a project. So this is a really popular program. This is the traffic calming program. We have over 700 applications from neighborhood streets across Metro Nashville, Davidson County. This project, Brookview Estates Drive, so potentially, I believe Wayne may have been a part of this, but I mean and the street was applied for, and we'll hit on it a little bit in a minute, but essentially it was one of 25 neighborhood streets that are selected for fall 2025 to move forward into this concept design phase. And what you're seeing on the screen here too is a live tracker that you can visit at TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov to see kind of all the traffic calming projects that are going on around Metro Nashville. So I want to highlight Hub Nashville. So the traffic calming program, as we'll detail later, uses a handful of tools. There are certain things that aren't handled within the scope of the traffic calming program, such as like new sidewalks, traffic signals, sound requests, things like that. For any and all of those things, want to point you towards Hub Nashville. especially if it might make sense for another. Metro and NDOT can do things in a lot of other ways, even if it might not make sense for a traffic calming project. So this process is data driven. So whenever Brookview Estates application came in, we went out and collected data on your street to collect speeds, volumes, sidewalk coverage, proximity parks, schools, community centers. Generally, all that data together comes up with a prioritization score. And so Brookview Estates was selected based off of basically this combination of factors when compared to all the other applications that we received kind of leading up to the fall. So it is a data-driven process. That's what we want to highlight here. So now talking about Brookview Estates Drive specifically, the corridor runs from the project that we're looking at runs from Bell Road to Alcala Drive. Street data, so 85th percentile speed, 36 miles an hour. I think that's compared to a posted speed of 30 miles an hour. Volumes, pretty good volume for this type of street. I mean, almost 2,300 vehicles a day with a pretty wide street profile of 28 to 38 feet. Wide cross section. I know that there are bike lanes on the corridor today, so that space is being used up by 2 travel lanes and bike lanes today. So here's the location map. This is the limits of the corridor. So like we just mentioned, run from Ocala to Bell Road. You can see there are a couple of adjacent, maybe recently completed or in process traffic calming projects in your general area here in south of Davidson County. And so this is kind of where we'd like to stop for a second and maybe solicit some feedback from you all to say, hey, like what are maybe what inspired you to apply, or kind of what do you see as kind of an issue with Brookview Estates Drive today in its current configuration? And maybe just wanted to open up to the floor for any comments or discussion on how Brookview Estates works for you all today.
Sure. If you don't mind, I could go first.
For sure.
I live on Brookview Estates, right at the section where it meets with Ocala. So I'm right at the corner. And if you're looking at that screen, my house is right there on the corner of Amelia. So as vehicles are coming down that turn, it's downhill 1, 2. It's kind of a blind turn. So I've lived here for about 3 years. My wife and I bought this house in 2022, and the amount of traffic has been alarming, and the speed of traffic has been pretty alarming too. It makes sense, the numbers that you gave us, because I witnessed that most days. I work from home too, so I see a lot of really heavy traffic and a lot of really fast cars coming in down the neighborhood. About a year ago, I was hit by one of these drivers. I broke my collarbone. I was out of work for 3 months. My wife and I have almost been hit many, many other times because of this type of traffic in our neighborhood. So I'm super, super excited about this program. I really hope that it becomes implemented. And like you mentioned before, Ocala was a recently completed project, and I think that had really amazing benefits. I travel on Ocala daily from Nolensville to get to my street, and uh, I can I can tell that a lot of the speed humps and speed bumps that they put in Ocala had a drastic change in speed reduction, and so I really hope that the same thing happens for Brookview, because I am at that weird corner right there on Amelia and Brookview, and I have to back out of my driveway to leave. And as I'm backing out, people are coming down that corner, that blind turn. So for me, pulling into my driveway and pulling out of my driveway feels kind of dangerous every time I do it. And if there are some speed bumps or speed tables somewhere close to that, hopefully that would kind of help ease our concerns. So anyway, that's why I showed up today. A lot of what you've already said is really exciting. Um, yeah, I think that's all for now.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan, for sharing your experience, and we appreciate you sharing that. And anybody who's next?
Hello. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sandy in Lyons. I live on Michelle, and walked down Brookview a good number of days during the week walking the dog, and have experienced anything that can be done with the speed of cars that come down Brookview will be helpful. Anything, because I've experienced, I'm in the far right lane walking the dog, and someone be coming from Bell Road, and I would probably guess they're going at least 50 miles an hour. It's just incredible the speeds they come on Brookview on. So anything that would help decrease the speeding on our street would be great, because I'm scared, like the man that just said, one of these days someone's just going to get hit. It's just in that, and they're not, and they'll come over into the what is that?
Bicycle lane.
Bicycle lane where you're walking. You're trying to stay to the far right or far left, and they'll be speeding so fast. They seem to not care about if they're in the middle of the road or whatever. But they're very fast. Sometimes it's amazing how fast they come down our street. So anything that could be done would be is going to help. There's a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and there's a lot of kids at the end of the street of Brookview and Michelle that wait for the bus all up and down Brookview. There's at least 3 stops when I leave to work in the morning that have kids there. So it's a safety issue to me for anybody that lives here. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no sidewalk. We just kind of rely on the bicycle lane as some kind of distance between us and the cars. But that's it's gotten to be more and more common for the cars to come right over in the bicycle lane, and you just have to jump over the curb to keep from keeping your distance. I think most people would probably swerve out of the way to keep from hitting you, but if they're distracted, they may not be able to swerve out of the way. And unfortunately, Ryan can attest to that. So that's kind of the dangers we assess each day. And like you said, most of the traffic travels around 40, 45 or better. And we usually, although I've kind of estimated several vehicles doing more than 60, and the speed limit here is 25, and there's one sign at the entrance from Ocala, and there's one sign at the entrance from Bell Road. And that's really the only thing visible to the drivers at this time.
Well, I was hoping particularly that Metro would put, like you say, some type of speed deterrent roads, whatever the bumps or whatever they have in Creve Hall, just put 3, something to break the speed in which these cars are coming in down the street, because there's some cars that can come mighty fast, and like I said, we're walking, there's dogs, there's kids, and there's actually not a lot of leeway in case they weren't watching. But anything to break the speed in which I think it's the same people that cut through a lot of the times. They know that they can, get from Ocala to Bell Road real quick and get home and all that. So they go fast. I don't know, but I'm just speculating. But we would appreciate whatever Metro can do.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And no, there's a couple of other people on the call here. Is there any other experience that want to share?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, I'm Reagan Williams. My husband, Aaron Crossley, and I live off of Brook Drive. So we're very close to Wayne and his wife. off of Michelle Drive. I agree with what everyone is saying. Definitely we see a lot of speeding happening, just kind of peeling off along Brookview Estates. Being on Brook Drive, I will say we see some of what's happening with the intersecting streets as well. And I don't know if that feedback is helpful. Being on Brook Drive, we actually see a lot of the cars that are going, way above the speed limit along Brookview Estates are often peeling off from or peeling onto Benzing Road. I don't know if your department has had much feedback on Benzing Road, but I will say that's a pretty precarious road that gets a lot of accidents. I've seen head-on collisions from my front porch. I'm kind of looking through past the creek onto that road. And it seems like there's a lot of green space back there. And perhaps the motivation is that it's secluded. People can just kind of rip and run really fast. And there's like a lot of gunshots that happen back there. I think people shoot onto like the hill or into the tree line or whatever, but gunshots pretty much happen daily along Benzing Road. And then when people are done shooting and driving fast along Benzing, it seems like they'll take a right onto Brookview Estates and peel off very quickly to get away from, the scene, or vice versa. They're going fast along Brookview Estates and then they quickly peel onto Benzing Road or Bell Road. But just kind of our house is positioned to see and hear a lot of that. So
it's very, very helpful, and thanks for sharing. And we'll definitely get into when we're talking about the next thing we'll talk about is the toolkit that we're the tools that we use along segments, right? So like we've already talked about a couple of times, speed cushions, but also intersection treatments. So we can definitely we'll talk about things that can help.
I wanted to add that intersection she was talking about at Benzing, the stop sign, Benzing and Brookview. A lot of people will ignore that stop sign and they peel out on the Brookview in front of me when I'm coming in, and then they turn on the Brookview right in front of me. It's like it's an odd. It's like there's no respect for the stop sign in that street, or the exiting that street or entering. It's a weird. That's a dangerous spot also.
That's good to know. Okay. Well, that's all helpful. Thank you all for sharing your experience, and we'll gonna move forward and start talking about the toolkit that the Nashville Street Calming Program typically employs on neighborhood streets like Brookview Estates Drive. So the first that we'll talk about, I think these are what you all are probably the most familiar with. It sounds like this is kind of what's present on Ocala Drive, so speed cushions. I would say the vast majority of traffic calming designs start with these, and that's because that they are proven to reduce speeds. They're a proven measure. They're a vertical measure. They kind of catch everybody, if you know what I mean. Like everybody has to navigate these, no matter how fast you want to go. So they're similar to speed bumps that you would see in a parking lot, but they're spread out to kind of hit a higher target speed. So we don't want people going over these at 5 miles an hour, but a target speed of 20 to 25 miles an hour. And they do have the spaces in between to help accommodate for larger vehicles like ambulances, fire trucks, things like that. Moving on to speed tables. Speed tables are very similar to speed cushions. They work the same way. It's just there's no gap for emergency vehicles. There's not that gap in between. So typically we apply these pretty sparingly. So just to hit the note again on speed reduction, and I mean, NDOT has conducted speed studies, and these are consistent with findings kind of across the nation. We know that speed cushions have the intended effect of slowing speeds, even on streets where we see higher speeds, like some of the speeds that you all are talking about. We do see those speeds come down to kind of our target of 25. So we have seen proven success time and time again with speed cushions. We know that they're effective. Sometimes, while speed cushions are a great tool, and that's typically our first move, they don't always make sense everywhere. So that is, for instance, hills and curves, things like that. So if there are significant gaps left between cushions based off of a long hill or a tight curve or a curvy street generally, we'll consider radar feedback signs. I don't believe there are any proposed on Brookview Estates Drive, and we'll get to that in a minute. But they are a tool that's used. Narrowing. So this is something that I think is kind of already in place on Brookview Estates, and we'll definitely take a look at. We could take a look at how it can be adjusted, but essentially the idea is a wider road leads to more comfort driving fast. Narrowing, just using striping alone, can lead to a more constrained, less comfortable environment. These are most often used in conjunction with speed cushions. So there's limited situations where we would do this without cushions, but typically you can use this in conjunction with cushions. And if it makes sense, and you kind of see this already on your street, where that narrowing has led to you have bike lanes on either side. Sometimes narrowing can lead to a path for pedestrians, people walking and biking on one or both sides of the street, especially in an area with no sidewalks like this one. Okay, so bulb outs. Bulb outs work the same as narrowing, but they're applied to intersections. So same idea. Whenever you have big, wide intersections with a lot of asphalt, people feel more comfortable turning faster. You can make a curve faster if you have a lot of asphalt as opposed to if the intersection is narrower. So narrowing kind of forces folks to slow down and be more perceptive of other cars, people outside of cars, people walking their dog, kids waiting for the bus, things like that. It also has the effect of decreasing crossing distances for pedestrians where crosswalks or things like that are present. Chicanes. So chicanes, they force narrowing. They force slowing by a combination of narrowing, like we've already talked about, and forcing a zigzag motion. This works on streets. This only works on streets that are pretty wide. You have to have enough. You have to have enough pavement to be able to kind of make that zigzag movement viable. And they come with their downsides as well, such as like reduced on-street parking. Okay, so pinch points. Pinch points are similar to chicanes. They narrow and force that zigzag motion, but they're a little bit more intense. They actually narrow the traveled way from 2 lanes to 1, creating a yield condition. Yep. And then traffic circles. So traffic circles are very similar to bulb outs. They serve the same purpose. It's just instead of narrowing from the outside in, you're kind of narrowing from the inside out. Generally, we use these very sparingly in the traffic calming program. That's mainly for the intersection has to be pretty wide for these to be viable, because they do create complications for larger vehicles navigating them, like buses, fire trucks, ambulance, school buses, things like that. Okay, so that covers the traffic calming toolkit of typical things that we would propose on a traffic calming project. So getting to the initial, our first look at a traffic calming design for Brookview Estates Drive. We were pretty happy with being able to provide you guys, or at least present to you this initial concept that we hope that you can provide feedback on here on the call. Really want to get your thoughts on this, but I'll quickly go through just the design really quick. So starting from Ocala Drive, there in that first sharp turn right at Amelia, that's a really wide intersection. So I think we saw a good opportunity to narrow up that intersection, put in a bulb out to kind of help more well define that curve and hopefully narrow up and kind of create a more constrained environment for folks driving. Moving on from that, you see a series of 6 speed cushions. So these are, and I'll go ahead and talk about a little bit about the constraints that are used in the cushion placement. So typically we're looking for spots that are relatively flat and out of curves, and we're also taking into account driveways. So typically we try not to be within 15 foot of anybody's driveway, not within 20-25 feet of an intersection. We also don't want to be on curves or on horizontal curves or on too much of a vertical curve, kind of like you see between Janice and Michelle. I know that's a pretty steep part of the corridor there, so that's why you don't see a cushion right there specifically. But anyway, so you get 6 pretty much somewhat evenly spaced cushions just based off those constraints. Based off of the posted speed of Brookview Estates, we spaced these about 400 to 500 feet apart is our target. And so that's why you see the cushions where you do here. And so, yeah, I just want to pause here for a minute and let you guys soak this in, and just, would love to just hear your feedback and what you're thinking.
My only feedback, I guess, is it's a shorter street in between. Brookview is a short street. It's not really much of a long street. Does it need 6 cushions? I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. I think it goes, and this is kind of a balance that we try to strike. I would say that this probably could have a cushion taken out of it if it needs to, or if that's a direction that we want to go. I would say, trying to catch. I think here we're really trying to catch like 1 to 2 per block. So you kind of see between Amelia and Roxanne, there's kind of a long stretch there where we're trying to get to, and then between Roxanne and Janice, we've got one. We weren't able, because of the grade, because of the hill there between Janice and Michelle, to get one. So the next block down, we were able to get one between Michelle and Brooke. And then it's really right there before Benzing, and then between Benzing and the signal down there, probably the closest spaced one. So if one were to be taken away, probably it'd be around there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the one near the traffic light is, in my opinion, all that necessary, because the traffic's pretty slow through right that small section. People are slowing down for the traffic light, or they're just coming from Bell Road.
Mhm.
But by the time they turn the corner at Benzing, that's where we see a lot of the speed going up and down the hill on that straight stretch, relatively straight stretch.
That hill is the big, that's the speed thing right there. People go up the hill fast, they come down. They pick up speed from Bell Road. Like you said, they enter generally when I see it, they enter the subdivision on a slower rate, and then around Benzing, right there, they start, that's where they probably pick up their speed, and then they go on up the hill real fast and going down to Ocala and go around that curve fast, because they just fly around that curve when I come home at night. They're on the other side of they don't stay on the right side of the road. They get in the middle and the left side of the lane. The person coming up that hill, has to be careful because the one coming toward them likes to go way over in the middle of the road on their side of the road. So anyway, I'm just saying it's the hills, you're right, the hills and the curves. That's where the people love to have fun at.
No, I think this looks good.
Mm.
And then you get the bulb out over by Amelia.
I think it looks good too. I would definitely be fine with 6. If it was 5, that would be fine too. I see what they're saying about taking one out between the Bell Road traffic light and Benzing. That could totally work too. I'm really happy with all the cushions towards me. My house looks like it's right underneath B. So my only question was, how would that bulb out work? Because that would probably be right in front of my house, and probably a good thing too, since my house is the bus stop, and people are coming flying through Amelia past that traffic light or past that stop sign as people are coming down the hill. So it's a major red flag for potential car wrecks. Would the bulb out be something that they build on off of the pre-existing
Yeah, so here, I'll go back a
structure of
couple
the
of
street?
I'll go back a couple of slides just to kind of see a visual of what these
Oh,
could look
that was the
like.
bulb out. Okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking of the other one. Okay.
no, yeah, and none of these are like perfect examples of what Amelia would look like as a bulb out, but generally it would be with paint and potentially delineators, like those plastic poles that stick up, that kind of help define that curve. Um, so with your driveway being like right up against the intersection, and I
Yeah,
apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. I mean,
that's
that
okay.
definitely wouldn't put anything that would restrict access to your driveway.
Okay.
It would be paint.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of the more permanent one. Um, I think if you guys would do a bulb out, the actual plastic, I don't know what you call those things, but
I'd
those
said delineator, it's
dividers,
like a plastic
delineators.
bollard. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think that's you would have to use that. I just have a pretty strong feeling that nobody flying off of Amelia onto Brookview is going to care about the paint. There, if you're able to drive over it, they drive through a stop sign without a thought. So I think they would drive through lines on the ground just as easily. So that
yeah.
those delineators would probably be necessary if you're doing a bulb out where you're showing.
Mhm. Thanks for that. I think also I wanted to we talked a lot about benzing. Would it and I don't have the aerial view of it in front of me, but would it be fair to say that it's a pretty wide intersection that might benefit from a bulb out as well? Or is that something that y'all, I don't want to push that on you, but just wanted to raise that idea.
I think so. I don't usually travel on that intersection as much, so I probably don't know as well as the rest of you guys, but I don't see how it could hurt.
That corner is used as for a bus stop, a school bus stop as well. And that's right where the bridge that goes over the Whittington branch of the creek
Mhm.
passes over. Unfortunately, there used to be a sidewalk there at the bridge, but they've done away with the sidewalk.
Mm.
And they brought the guard railing out more towards the road. So there's no place for the children to stand when they're waiting on the bus. They have to stand out on the road right at that corner.
On Benzing at that intersection with Benzing.
Yeah, the Benzing right where the bridge is. You can't see it on here, but
Okay.
you're right where Benzing meets Brookview Estates. There's a bridge going over the creek.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I know what you're talking about. And that's where you're saying there's kids waiting on the corner as a bus stop. Okay.
Sorry, why couldn't
Reagan. Oh, go ahead.
what are those bumps called? Cushions?
Push. Yeah.
Speed cushions.
Why couldn't you put a speed cushion so many feet from the stop sign coming off of Benzing onto Brookview to break people's fastness that's coming from Tusculum to coming over that, because that's a cut, that's where they're going, Tusculum Road. So if you put a speed bump, at least one 400 feet before they get to Brookview Estates Drive, anybody turning in is going to have to slow down, or coming out is going to have to slow down. Would that
On
Penny?
Ocala.
Ocala?
No, Benzing.
Or you want the other end of
Benzing.
Benzing?
That intersection where people ignore the stop sign and they just they blow past the stop sign in front of people, or they're on Brookview and they just cut in front of people coming through Brookview, and they just cut in front of people that are trying to go down the street, and they're speeding, and they just, if there's some type of deterrent, that's okay. That's Benzing, but that would help the intersection there of all the people that come and go off of Benzing onto Brookview. If there's some type of speed cushion to break their
We got this one here.
is that one on?
Yeah,
Benzing?
I'll speak to, so as far as a cushion or something
That's
like
right
that
there.
on Benzing, that wouldn't be able to be accomplished through this project. So
Okay,
the way, and we'll get into the
So
the
they
way
take
that
left.
the next steps and how the balloting process works and all that for the design of Brookview Estates. But we can apply some treatment to that intersection, Brookview Estates and Benzing, to kind of narrow it up and try to get at that issue that you're talking about, folks speeding through that intersection. And I think what I'm hearing is that a bulb out might be something that we should look at that intersection.
I just had a quick question about what type of speed cushions that you're going to put in. Are those going to be like in this picture where they're the split ones, or is it going to be where it goes fully across the whole lane? Like is it split like shown in your pictures here?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. And then like talking about kind of building on what, the other, my neighbors were saying, I think if the speed cushions like hug on either side of Benzing, that might mitigate the problem. Like those last two right there by Bell Road, if they kind of hugged as close as compliant to Benzing Road, that might mitigate the problem there for, people just ripping off Benzing to onto Brookview Estates. Like I walk my dogs in the morning, and yeah, people just rip through that intersection coming from either direction of Benzing. So maybe if it's at all possible, just kind of narrowing in onto that road might mitigate that problem.
Yeah. I think to speak to that, I think having the cushion that we have shown directly on this view north of Benzing on Brookview Estates, having that one seems like it's a good spot for it. As far as narrowing them up, typically, and we shoot for a spacing of 400 to 500 feet, and so having one on either side of the intersection might not necessarily get us where we need to go. But I do think that a combination of, it sounds like Benzing needs a little bit more attention with this plan, and so I think with the combination of the speed cushion to the north of Benzing and then potentially a bulb out configuration at Benzing and Brookview, I think might get us where we need to go on that. Okay, well, this is all really good feedback. Is there anything else before we kind of, I want to, if there are any more comments or discussion that we want to have on the design, we can have it now, and if not, we'll talk a little bit more into next steps and where we go from here.
Yeah, I think at some point there's going to have something done with a bridge right there at the curve from Benzing. At this point, I don't see a solution for it.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. One other thing I forgot to mention, and I wanted to make a point to ask: there are bike lanes on Brookview Estates today. Now, I'm not saying that they'll necessarily be that we can necessarily do anything with this project to change them, but I just want to just generally ask how you all feel about them, if you use them, just what your experience is, and
I can speak. I use them almost every day that's not raining to walk my dogs. I love them being here. So if they go away, I will be very heartbroken. So I vote they stay. And if they magically become sidewalks, I would love that as well. But that's a whole different subject. But yeah, I hope the bike lanes are here to stay. And if they're expanded, that would be even better. But yeah. Please don't take our bike lanes away.
I know, yeah, I didn't mean to imply that anyway. Definitely not going away. I think if anything, yeah, just wanted to just gauge how you guys are
I
experiencing using them today.
I like the bike lanes because it does give some, even though we can't reduce the speeders at the moment, it does give them some type of where they need to stay away from the side of the road when you're walking. You know what I mean? There's lines, or you know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
helps to give them a visual of going, okay, I got to stay in the middle here. I don't need to go over here where people are, they can clearly see that's a lane of some
Yeah.
type that is not a auto lane. It's, it's for people that are biking or walking or whatever. So I like them too because it does help keep people away from the side of the road where you're trying to walk. Yeah.
My only concern with them, I don't use them. I like them if they were sidewalks. That would be the greatest thing. My only issue with them right now, and it's not the bike lanes. Bike lanes is just where they are. That second speed cushion right in front of Roxanne is that turn where the road narrows quite a bit. One,
Mhm.
because of the bike lane. Two, because people park their cars on the other side. So when people come around that turn, they're in the middle of the road, and somebody else going the other way kind of has to go in the middle of the road as not to hit people's cars on the side of the street, which is what happened to me. Someone hit me head on right there because
Mm.
of that exact issue. So I don't know if there's anything to be done without doing anything to the bike lanes. One, are people allowed to park their cars on the street? I mean, of course they're allowed to park their cars on the street, but that's kind of why there are so many issues with that turn right there, because it's so narrow, because people park their cars and there's the bike lane. So that's my only concern, is that one spot. And that's kind of twofold, because of the bike lanes
Yeah.
and the parked cars. And it's just a blind turn. Like, there's not a lot you can do about it. But I wouldn't increase the bike lanes or make them wider, because that would just make that turn even more dangerous.
So what you're saying, I just want to make sure I understand. So you're saying that as you're moving kind of from Brook Drive up to Roxanne Drive, so you're coming up the hill, it's narrower and it kind of widens out as you're
Yeah.
going
Yeah, I
around
mean,
like towards Amelia.
yeah, it's both ways. So right in front of Roxanne Drive, so coming from Ocala, my house is B. So
Mm-hmm.
that's me right there. As I'm coming uh towards Bell Road, past the first cushion to that second cushion, that road narrows to one lane. Like, it's really, really thin up there. And
Mm.
that's because the bike lane is on one side, and then people park their cars on the street on the other side. So people coming around that turn, you can do it if you're going slow, but the reason we're all here is because people go 40, 50 miles an hour over through that turn. So if you're going that fast, you're trying to avoid the bike lane, and you're trying to avoid the cars on the park street. And if you have two cars coming around that turn together, they can't make it at the same time. And I can attest to that. They can't get by each other, especially if you're not paying attention. So
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything to be done, like with I don't know how
People
you would
park
tell
on the
people not to
curb.
park in front of your house. Like they need to park, but I don't know
Is
if
there
there's anything within that specific section that can be done to keep it wider while still keeping all the bike lanes.
is the bike lane right there, or are you saying that people are parking in the bike lane?
People are
Yeah,
parking on the other side of the bike lane. So one side is the bike lane, one side are in people's houses, and they park in front of it.
yeah,
At the
they're
curb.
yeah, they're parking on the bike lane. There's a caution sign for that
Yeah,
corner, 20-mile-an-hour caution sign.
Go look at it.
yeah,
There's been
but
been several accidents I've seen there at Roxanne because people coming around the curve aren't ready for any traffic that's trying to merge from Roxanne onto Brookview,
Mm.
and they'll T-bone them.
So
yeah, I think
folks coming towards Bellevue or Bell, sorry, folks coming towards Bell around that curve, and then folks pulling onto Brookview from Roxanne. It's a blind curve; they can't see.
yeah,
And
and
that's
it's
that's the
not
issue.
from there. It's people going from Ocala to Bell and Bell to Ocala. People are using Brookview as a cut through, and right as they
Mhm.
get to around Roxanne, that curve right there from my house B to the second speed cushion is this really blind, narrow corner
Yeah.
curve, and it's slightly downhill if you're coming from Bell, and it's slightly uphill if you're coming from my house. And I think, Wayne, I don't know where you are, but you probably saw my accident. That was last October. I think you
Yeah, I
actually.
did see that one, right?
Yeah, so Wayne came outside, and I think he called the cops and waited till we got there. But yeah, I've actually been hit, and I've almost been hit almost identically to that incident probably 2 or 3 other times. So the caution sign is great, but people don't care about signs. They're going to do what they want, and so I really think the only thing is the cushion, something physical to actually make them slow down. And I don't know if you can widen that road. I don't That would be an insane thing to take under and probably not part of this project. But that that corner just kind of needs to be wider to be safer, or the speed cushion.
I almost wonder if there were those plastic bollards that, what is it? They have them on Nolansville, I think.
There you are.
But if they're delineators, yeah, the plastic delineators, if they had those between the actual um like roadway and the, you know, the public right of way and like the bike lane and everything, I think that might mitigate people like parking on the road, which is causing that narrowing that
Yes.
Ryan was talking about. If something like that could be done, I wonder if that would be a great like mitigating feature on our road, just to prevent, because if people didn't park, I feel like that would be part of the solution on just parking in the bike lane.
Yeah, yeah,
Unmuted. Okay.
I agree with that because those, we see that all the time, all those cars that are parked there on that curve and people going too fast. You put the combination and it's a bad combination. It's not, someone has to stop and kind of, I have to kind of like literally stop behind one of those parked cars to wait another car come down. You know what I mean? So, um, anyway, yeah, I think that's a great idea as far as uh,
It's
trying
definitely
to
something.
trying to prevent some of all the cars that are parked on that curve.
Well, we just got to slow things down, guys.
Yeah,
You got to slow down.
that's what we're here for. Yeah, we'll definitely take a look. No, it's great feedback on the curve around Roxanne to hear your guys' experience there, and the issues that y'all are seeing. And I think that we'll definitely take a close look at what all we can do with this project. I think some great ideas have been brought up, and we can look into those. Okay. If that's all on the design for right now, we can move more into kind of program and next steps on where we go from here. Okay. So this is just a quick, wanted to give a quick overview of the process. We've gone over a little bit of this already, but just starting at the left. So application, there's 2 cycles per year. You all or your neighbors applied for this and went through prioritization and selection and got selected. So now we're here kind of in that red circle at the first neighborhood meeting. So this is where we're going through the concept design and getting your feedback and talking about next steps. After this, so we're going to take your feedback and we are going to do a field review. We're going to go out and do a site visit. I think we're scheduled for next week. We're going to go out, really hone in on the concept design and where cushions can go and the different ideas that have been brought up today. And then we'll go ahead and refine the concept design to a final design. And then at that point, there is a spot where we can have a neighborhood meeting number 2 to review that final design. That meeting's completely optional. It's up to you all. So I'll ask you all to kind of at the end here if that's something that you guys want to see. And what that would be is the final design plans updated kind of per the feedback that we've received here, and another meeting kind of similar to this format. Again, completely optional, and completely up to you. Yep. Okay, then after that, the final design plans will be posted online. There will be an online balloting process, which I'll describe more here in a minute. That is open for 2 months. Again, I'll describe that more here in a second, and then it'll go into NDOT's queue for construction. So a little bit more on balloting. The way that the process works, online ballot access will be sent via mailers, similar to the ones that you got to attend this meeting, with unique IDs. So you can see a sample ballot postcard in the top left there. Voting is open for about 6 weeks, and there will be the closing date. The closing date will be on the mailer, and it'll be a yes or no vote on the final design plans that are posted on Metro's website, which you'll obviously receive a link to. It's a simple yes or no, and it is 66%, 2/3 of respondents vote yes, then the project will move forward. And that is, just want to highlight, that is respondents and not kind of total recipients of the mailers. It would be if 66% of those who vote yes, then the project will move forward. A little bit on who's receiving a ballot and who gets to vote. So you can see the parcels, the lots that were sent invites to this meeting today, kind of highlighted there in yellow. These are the same lots and properties that will get sent ballots with a few stipulations. So residential properties, churches, and schools will all get 1 vote. I don't think that there are any churches or schools on this one, but I know there are a couple of vacant and Metro-owned properties, so obviously they won't get a vote. Only properties that are abutting Brookview estates are eligible, and that includes folks on the corners of each of the side streets. Owners with multiple properties. So if there's owners with multiple properties, will get 1 vote. Vacant properties are ineligible. Businesses are ineligible. What we really want to hit on here is that if you or your neighbors feel like you should have gotten a card, but you haven't received it, please reach out to us. We want, the last thing we want is to not get your vote, not to get your feedback. So if, talk to your neighbors whenever the time comes, if you haven't received anything, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to get you your unique ID and help you through that voting process, because that's really what we want. Okay, so that's the end of my slideshow. Happy to open it up for more questions and discussions. I'll go ahead and open it up. Are there any other questions or discussion that we want to go through right now?
Yeah, so looking at your map for the balloting, those are all folks that live right on Brookview Estates.
Yes.
So it doesn't include any of the side streets.
Yeah, that's correct. That's how the program has been since it started, or at least in the last several years.
So I'm
So
assuming it's the properties that are right on Brookview, I guess, are more impacted because of the cushions that are going to be installed, or
that's right. I mean, the voting itself is on, yes or no to having vertical measures installed on the street. So that's really
right?
what's being
Right.
voted on. Hmm.
Okay. So how do we get a ballot if we don't live on the street itself?
So yeah, so folks who are eligible to vote on, I guess, folks who live on the street are eligible to vote for the project.
Say again.
So only property owners with lots that are directly on Brookview Estates Drive are eligible to vote.
Okay.
And you said this applies to only people who own their property, so anybody renting a house on Brookview wouldn't have the opportunity to vote?
So the way that we pull our mailing list, we get property owner addresses, so that may not correspond to the property owners for those lots will get a ballot.
Okay, so if just for an example, the house next to me, the owner is renting to tenants. The tenants aren't able to vote, but the person who actually owns the house and is renting it out can.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So it sounds like we need to run a campaign for the people that live on Brookview Estate and go door to door and see how they would how they're going to feel about putting in the cushions.
Sign me
And
up.
I mean, that's not illegal. It's not anything
I-
that would be construed as being off the norm.
This is all publicly, so like after this recording will be posted. There's a um, project website, public facing project website that's currently posted on engage.nashville.gov/traffic calming. Any and all information on the project will be posted there. Yeah, we definitely encourage you to reach out, talk to your neighbors, point them to this recording if they have any questions, and
Right. Right.
yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Thanks. Anybody else?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, yeah, if there are no more questions tonight, if you have questions and you want to get them answered, or if there are folks, if there are neighbors that you know that weren't able to attend and have questions, like please point them towards the emails that you see on the screen here, so you can reach directly out to me. Just be sure to keep the NDOT traffic calming email copied on that correspondence. So we're all kind of on the same page, but feel free to reach out. There's also an online survey right now on engage.nashville.gov/traffic calming. So please feel free to visit that and give your feedback. Yeah, and if that's all, I just want to say again, thanks everyone. This has been a great discussion, and it's been very impactful and helpful to hear your feedback and your lived experience on your street. It's really going to help inform the design going forward and just help us deliver a project that's going to really address the issues that are out there. So,
Hey, Chase, you have time for just one question. It's really not on topic, but it's
yeah.
more on the Nashville DOT. That's not something new, but it seems like I've seen a lot of new trucks, new vehicles, and that's a good thing. We're spending money on the Nashville transportation. But I also noticed the website is very similar to things we find on Hub Nashville, which is separate from the NDOT website.
Yeah. Yes. I think that they're all on Metro Nashville's website has links to, the page for NDOT and a page for Hub Nashville. It's all under Metro.
If I'm not mistaken, you work for the engineering firm, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're a contractor working for NDOT.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Very good. Thanks for your time, Mr. Chase. You've been great. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks, Chase.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. All right. Good night.